So let's move on and look at some of the other bits. So let's talk about model-based definition, MBD, and detailing, and what's inside that. Okay. All right. So 2D annotation stuff. Okay. So if you need to do drafting stuff, if you need to sketch some lines and circles and arcs and things like that. So the sketching tools have been updated. So great if you having to create a symbol, or maybe got an old drawing you just need to do a little bit of tweaking with. Okay. So basically the sketching tools have been brought through into the drawing environment. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of options there, similar to what you'll see in Sketcher. I've got the ability to toggle construction mode as well. So I can very quickly go and start sketching things up in a more linked, controlled way. So when you're working with that, you've also got control over your snapping guides. So lots of options there for controlling basically which constraints you like. So it's like your sketcher constraints get applied as you're sketching. Okay. New option if you're dealing with draft entities to basically turn them into a draft view, and then you can start to relate them together and affect movement between them, define all of that stuff. Symbols. So I think most people who are doing drawings are working with drawing symbols. So the drawing symbol placement's been updated. Okay, so in older versions of Creo, you have a dialog box, and now that's moved to being a ribbon. So it's a tab in the ribbon, just like we had for drawings and GTOLs and sorry, dimensions and GTOLs and notes and things like that. It's been happening in some earlier versions of Creo. So I've now got a symbol placement ribbon that you can see here on the screen. Okay, so much easier to browse through your symbol gallery, pick things from your palette, options for like repeat mode to quickly place multiple instances of a symbol on the drawing. When I pick on the symbol, I get the ribbon comes back up, so I can quickly customize, work with that, change that around. All right, so once you're working with those symbols that you've placed in the drawing, again, a little graphics toolbar that pops up. There's some new options there for working with symbols in the mini toolbar. So things like rotation, customizing, things like that. Okay. Working with them, again, some more options for placement, controlled through your config options, how you handle attachments or repeat mode and things like that. Okay. So if you're commonly replacing a symbol that you use over and over again, you might set your default behavior to have repeat mode on whenever you start. There's a new gallery for symbols. So the idea of this is to basically sort of collect user-defined symbols, system symbols, all in the one spot, so that we can quickly browse and pick the ones we want. There's some options there for how we display them. We can quickly search for them by name to find the one we want, because we could have quite a few symbols in there. So we can more quickly and easily grab and work with our symbols. I mentioned this earlier, so grouping customization as well. So once you've placed that symbol, a little pop-up here for all of your customizations, your groupings that you might define in that symbol definition, quickly and easily change them. The symbol palette. So I know some of you are using that, where you create a drawing file, and drop all your symbols into there. So you make that the palette, and then you can just pick from there. So a few options for working with the symbol palette. So there's a new graphics toolbar that pops up inside there when you're looking at that palette. So it makes it easier to zoom around, browse, things like that to see things. You also now, the symbol palette can support a multi-sheet drawing. So if you had lots of symbols, previously you had to jam them all into one page, which might get a bit big. You might have to zoom out too far, then not easily able to see them. So now we can create a multi-sheet drawing and jump between sheets. Okay. Other stuff for symbols, more on the MBD side. I kind of mentioned this a little bit already with the world symbols. So our semantic referencing. Okay, so semantics is important when we're dealing with putting that information in, exchanging that through data exchange, maybe sending out step AP242 format, or even into Creo view. Okay, if you're checking them in, publish them in Windchill, you want to pick on that dimension, it will show and highlight all of the references that symbol or dimension is important or relevant to. Okay, so we've got semantic support in there as well. Okay, Actually, sorry, I forgot to mention this one. So for your symbols as well, so symbols can also now be designated as control characteristics. Okay, so the idea of that, part of the PDCs of digital traceability. So I define, my MBD in the CAD. I can have that visible right through into in the visualization and even into the manufacturing process plans that I create from within Windchill, and these control characteristics will come right through into those manufacturing plans as important information that people need to check, part of that process. Working with annotations, so some new options around defining all of your surface sets for those annotations. So that just to make things little, give you a few more options for using the selection tools for picking that. Last one around leader callouts for bodies. We mentioned this already a little bit. We can call in the parameters from a body. So that's there, and also repeat regions. So I did say this before. When you're doing better components in your inseparable assemblies, whether your repeat region can look down inside that and show them up or not as well. Okay. GD&T Advisor. Okay, so this was a new module introduced back in Creo 4 for doing your full GD&T checking on your models. So basically, it makes sure that you've got correct feature-centric GD&T that validates your annotations. Okay, so now what's there inside Creo 8 is the ability to do that on assemblies. Okay, so previously it was only for parts, but if you've got the GDT Advisor Plus license, that's now supported for assemblies as well. Okay, there's also an enhanced dimension creation workflow. So previously in GDT Advisor, you might be in there doing your GD&T and then you realize that there's a dimension missing. So you had to drop out of GD&T, create the dimension, come back in to then reference that. Now, while I'm inside GD&T Advisor, I can actually create the dimension as I go. And some other tools around basically managing and validating your annotations, making sure that you're not having any mismatches, that everything's okay with all of that.